If you trace Princess Diana's sapphire ring, Queen Mary's crown, and the Koh-i-Noor back far enough, one name keeps appearing: Garrard. Britain's oldest luxury jewellery house was also the first official crown jeweller, responsible for the crown jewels himself for 164 years. This is Gem Pursuit. I'm Matthew Weldon, and this is the story of Garrard Co. Hello, and welcome back to Gem Pursuit. I'm Matthew Weldon, and with me today is Fenia Sigkoudi.
Hello, everyone.
When people think of British royal jewellery, they think of crowns, tiaras, sceptres, and of course the great diamonds. But today, we're telling the story of the house behind so many of them, Garrard. From George Wickes' Panton Street shop in 1735 to carnations, crown jewels, royal portraits, and one of the most famous engagement rings in the world. Fenia, I'm super excited about this one because, Ireland and England were so close together, such good neighbours, obviously an interesting past, but we get on so great now. We just want to beat them in things like, like football and rugby. But we're going to be talking about one of the great British jewellery houses who are still around today, and they're famous for so many of the iconic royal jewels. And we've had plenty of pieces from this company in our inventory before. So I feel very close to this particular episode.
I'm very excited about this one as well. Let's get started.
They go way back, don't they?
They do go way back, yes. And they are linked to the history of the royal family as well. They have been the crown jeweler for the royal household for almost 160 years, from 1843 up until 2007. Queen Victoria herself appointed this house as her crown jewelers. So yeah, a house that is like inherently linked to lots of historical moments related to the house, to the English royal house.
Yeah, and we'll get into that, exactly what that means, being the crown jeweler. Like, we're the crown jeweler, what do you have to do, right? Or what does that mean? And it's a really interesting one. But I think it's important we just put a bit of context on where they came from, because it reminded me a bit of our just previous episode on Boleyn. From a business side, the way they evolved was not linear, certainly wasn't a straight line, plenty of twists and turns in the road. But how did they become the Garrards that we know today?
House Garrard goes all the way back to the 18th century. Surprisingly enough, it was not founded by a guy called Garrard. The founder is a master silversmith called George Wickes, who opened up a shop at Panton Street at the West End and did remarkably well during the first year after the launching of his business. I have been trying to figure out why during that first year, Matthew, he managed to secure royal patronage.
Wow. He
actually received a royal warrant by Frederick II, who's the father of the infamous King George III, I think. The guy who's famous as Farmer George or Mad King George.
Oh.
We might have some Bridgerton fans in the audience. I don't know if we have a Bridgerton fan at the table with me as well today. But
I've watched one or two episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, he's in Bridgerton, is he? Mad King George.
Mad King George, yes.
Why was he mad?
I think we're still speculating about that. Some people say schizophrenia. We're not sure. He was mentally unwell during the last part of his life. Anyways, Wickes managed to secure royal patronage, and I was trying to figure out how he managed to do that. And I have a theory, Matthew. Would you like to hear about that?
Yes.
Okay, so we know from our research that he opened his shop at the West End, which is an area, I would say, located on the north side of the Thames River, east of the Hyde Park.
Mm-hmm.
The name of this area derives from the fact that it's located literally at the West End of the central part of London, the medieval part of London, which used to be like walled as well. This neighborhood was like a hub for the English aristocracy. Like, members of the elite would gather there and they would choose this area to build their mansions for many different reasons. The first one, I suppose, is the fact that this area is basically located very close to Westminster Palace, which now houses the Parliament.
Mhm.
So it was very close to the court, and the aristocrats always want to be close to their king, to the court. Another factor is the fact that this area had excellent and delicious air, if I may
Wow.
say so. So the wind usually blows from the west to the east,
Yes.
which means that it transferred all the smoke that was coming from the center of the city towards the east. And that basically means that this area of London, this part of town, had very clear air. And it might seem like insignificant at first, but it's actually very, very important.
Yeah, because this would have been the age of industrialization in the UK, and there was lots and lots of factories, and I think there was a great smog in London at one time.
That happened later.
That happened later, but in any case, still would have had a lot of pollution in the air, and then it just makes sense. The prevailing wind comes from the southwest, and then it would have cleared it out. That makes total sense.
Total sense. So he deliberately chose this location because of the clear air and because it was so popular amongst members.
The delicious air. I think that's
Delicious
a lovely,
air.
lovely.
And this is something that we see a lot when it comes to jewelry houses. Location is key. We talked about the house of Boucheron in one of our previous episodes, and we analyzed how Boucheron chose and why he chose to move his shop at Place Vendôme. And we said that he chose this specific corner where the Maison is located today exactly because it was so sunny. The sun would make his jewelry look strikingly beautiful. Again, the environmental conditions. We don't have like clear air here. It's not the clear air that he was going after. It was the sun, but it's still the same theme. Also, much like Wickes chose the West End neighborhood because it was close to the Parliament, Boucheron chose to move his shop at Place Vendôme because this square was located on the route that the ladies, members of the aristocracy, those ladies, would take every day to go to the Tuileries Gardens that are located right next to the Tuileries Palace, which used to be the residence of Napoleon II. So again, we have like a hub where all the aristocrats meet because they want to be close to the court. In both cases, location is key to make sales. And I believe that we could actually link it to our own store as well.
That's good to hear. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, they both got it, didn't they? Boucheron and Garrard. That the location was so important.
Yes.
Not just the atmosphere, the delicious air, but also they be on the route that they needed to be.
Yes.
And yeah, I guess our shop, for anyone who's been here, you'll know we're in Power Square Townhouse Centre, and we're the first shop in, or I suppose maybe the last shop out, depending which way you enter the building. But it is, I have noticed that it's a tiny little shop. I would probably, like, it would be great if the shop was just a little bit bigger, but it is on the route. If you're coming from like the main shopping street in Dublin and going over to South William Street or Drury Street, which would be kind of nice streets for coffees and lunches or whatever, it is bang in the middle. And because it's in a shopping centre, I mean, it rains in Ireland quite a bit. You can stay inside, so you can walk through from one street to the other inside a building. And it's a nice part of town, right?
Of course.
So...
And what a shopping center as well, Matthew. Like, it's not any shopping center. Paris Court is like one of the best preserved historic mansions of the city of Dublin, a Georgian mansion located right at the middle of the city.
Yeah.
So we're very, very privileged to basically have our shop in a house like that.
Oh, we're blessed
We're
to
blessed.
be in here. I just hope the landlords don't hear that too much. But the landlords are great here, by the way. It's super, super important. Like, I've seen it, just it deviates from Garrard's, but it shows why they were so wise to put their shop in the right place. Because I've seen fantastic jewellery businesses with great operators, with great stock, really clever marketing, and even in an age of social media and the internet, they put the shop in the wrong place. One close to me here that I can think of, I won't say who it is, but they had all the ingredients, but they were off the right track, and they had this huge store, and it got cavernous, and empty feeling there because they weren't getting the footfall through it. And then you're just looking around at this big empty space. You're better off really having a small shop in the right place. That's my philosophy anyway. But Garrard, and at this time George Wickes, I think nailed it. And it's so interesting that they thought of that, like the air. Did they think of that, or was that your philosophy?
That's my personal
your
theory,
feeling?
guys.
Ah.
I was trying to figure out how he managed to secure royal patronage within the first year. And I basically drew this connection between Boucheron and our own shop. Location is key, so I think it would make sense.
I'd say you're right. I'd say whether it was intentional or that they just subconsciously was like, oh, it's nice here, it's fresh, it's clean. I don't know whether they put two and two together and was like, oh, it's because of the prevailing wind moving the air. But that's probably why the West End was popular, because it was just a lovely place to be. But it really worked for them.
For sure. So Wickes managed to secure royal patronage. He received a royal warrant by Frederick II. He started producing items for the royal household. Initially, he was producing silver flatware for the English crown. They did very well. He had like a partner as well. Eventually, Wickes retired. Other members of the firm took over the business, continued the good work. The change of the name change, happens after 1782. It would take some time, but 1782 is the crucial year, is a milestone. We have a guy coming over to Wickes's business. His name is Robert Garrard. He joined the firm as a stockkeeping assistant, and that's crucial as well. It can actually allude to the Boleyn episode as well. So when we were analyzing House Boleyn, we saw that the house started with a different name, Rompler, and then eventually a guy from Sweden came over and married the right girl, Rompler's daughter, eventually took over...
Sounds like such a... Married Rompler's daughter.
Married Rompler's daughter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it was strategic. It could be love, but it worked out perfectly for him, I have to say.
In those days?
Possibly strategic, yes.
If you get both, you've hit the jackpot.
Exactly, yeah. So Boleyn married Rompler's daughter. Eventually, he took over the business and he gave his name to the house that we know and admire today. Same thing happened with Garrard as well. We have a guy who came over to do the stockkeeping, much like Boleyn was doing the bookkeeping. And he arrived in 1782. And it took him 20 years almost, but in 1802, he eventually took sole control of the business, changed the company's name to Garrard, and registered his own maker's mark as well.
Interesting. Sorry, it's just interesting that they keep changing the names, because you would think that there'd be loyalty to the previous name, but actually it's people buy off people, not brands.
So Robert took over the business. The business stayed in family hands. He gave it to his son, Sebastian Garrard. Eventually, his grandsons and great-grandsons took over the business and continued the legacy. And the business stayed within family hands up until 1946, when the last of the Garrards died. After that point, the companies ran basically like a group of directors. And from that point on, we see that the company starts merging with other jewelers and expands in that way. So initially, they merged with another renowned British luxury retailer called the Goldsmiths and Silversmiths Company. I think they opened up their shop at the West End during the Victorian times. And when Garrard merged with them, they moved their shop from Panton Street in the West End to Regent Street in the West End. Now, Matthew has traveled to the UK more than me, but I have the impression that Regent Street is an upgrade from Panton Street.
Yes, Regent Street, like near Oxford Street, Bond Street, like today, super high-end shopping. But today, whatever big company, big brand, luxury company you're thinking of, they are on those streets. So yeah, and like the West End is really to London what, Broadway would be to New York today. So it was interesting that he went there originally. I know it's obviously evolved over the years, but I would say they're in the right place now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a clever place in the 19th century to set up where they did for the reasons that you said, the right location, the fresh air. But now they're in the hub of the luxury shopping quarter. And if anyone's in London, like, you should walk down there. There's some amazing shops. Anytime I go there, it's an inspirational. I come back with hundreds of ideas. We'll do this, we'll do that, and it's well worth a look. But I mean, it's no Power Score Townhouse Centre, but it's quite nice.
At some point in 1998, they merged with Asprey, who's another British luxury retailer. When they merged with Asprey, they moved to Bond Street at the West End. And at the moment, I think Garrard is under the direction, I think they have been bought by a US private equity firm called Ukaipa Companies. I think this happened in 2006.
So Fenia, interesting story, the background of Garrard's, the name changes, growth through acquisition, and today owned by a private equity firm, but they still retain a lot of their identity, which I think is great. And we can talk about the identity versus commercial necessities and how that impacts them. I think that's really interesting, right? But let's just talk about, to understand that, and this is key to them, the way that they've grown in terms of their style versus their commercial mandates. But we got to understand what is their quintessential style and what is their characteristics of Garrard jewellery.
So I think the defining characteristic of Garrard is the fact that they wear the crown jeweler to the British crown. It's one of the most prestigious British houses, jewellery houses, exactly because it was favoured and admired and appreciated by the royal family itself. Fun fact, Matthew, the title of crown jeweler did not exist before Garrard and Co. acquired it.
Oh.
So apparently this title was created for this particular house. Queen Victoria created the title in 1843. Of course, she was collaborating with Garrard and other jewelers prior to that. We have archival material. I think it's called a royal ledger, where she writes down all of her purchases from different jewelers. So we know that she was collaborating with different houses, different companies. However, in 1843, she creates this role and she centralizes the custody, adaptation and maintenance of the crown jewels under a certain firm. So this makes things more neat, I would say.
It's amazing how the royals do archive and keep this information. It makes it very important in the future, I think. But so they got this thing of the crown jeweler. What is that? What does that mean? Like, if you're the crown jeweler, what do you do? Like, do you make everything for them, or what is the responsibilities there?
Good question. I think we should distinguish what it means to have a royal warrant and what it means to be a crown jeweler.
Yeah, because it's specific.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that these two notions can get confused.
Yes.
They're two different things. So let's start with the royal warrant. Okay. So it's basically a document, it's a piece of paper that allows a company to advertise that they are providing their services on a regular basis. They are selling goods to the royal household. You need to have a certain profile to receive a royal warrant, of course. The royal household has to protect its name and its public image. I know that you also have to provide goods or services to the royal household for a certain amount of years. I believe you have to do it for 5 years, and after that you receive the warrant.
Once you get the warrant, you have it for 5 years.
Yes.
Yes.
So you have to provide them your services or sell them goods for 5 years prior.
Okay.
Then you receive the warrant.
Yes.
And then you retain the document, the warrant, for 5 years. And at the end of this time period, they're gonna reassess your services and they're gonna decide whether they're gonna continue collaborating with you or not.
So you actually get this warrant. It's like a document. And people will know the word warrant from, well, I'd be a big fan of watching crime on TV and, a warrant for somebody's arrest, right? So it is a document and it warrants you. It allows you to put on your boxes that you're a jeweler for you do work for the royal family. So it's a great kudos. If you get a royal warrant, it's on your advertising that you have this. So I think it's really And that's what it is. And it's a set every 5 years, so to keep you on your toes, right?
Exactly, yeah. It allows you to use the royal coat of arms on your boxes and on your pieces as well. It's super important. Great advertisement for sure.
Great.
I think what's crucial for understanding what a warrant is and how it works is the fact that many people can have a royal warrant at the same time. So Garrard and Co had it, but other jewelers as well had it. I know that Asprey received one
Yes.
as well. I think it was 1862 when they got their own royal warrant. So many people can have it at the same time, and it is assigned to a company. Being a crown jeweler is a totally different thing in so many ways. First of all, only one person can be the crown jeweler, and it's usually a title that it's given by the sovereign to a certain individual within the company. So when we're saying that Garrard and Co are the crown jewelers, they are the company that houses the certain individual who has
Yes.
appointed the crown jeweler by the sovereign.
That's a clear distinction. You, this individual person, you are the crown jeweler, as in you are responsible for looking after the jewels of the crown.
And what do they do? What do you do as a crown jeweler? It's a very demanding job, Matthew.
Right. Okay.
It has lots of
I'm
responsibility.
all ears.
So, of course, you make jewelry.
Hmm.
Naturally, you create jewelry for the royal household, but you're also responsible of maintaining the pieces that the royal family already has. You visit the Tower of London very often. You clean them, reset the stones if it's necessary. Whenever somebody is using a past item, for example, a crown, maybe you have to adjust it to fit on their head perfectly. You're responsible for the security of the pieces. And apparently every time like a piece of royal regalia is like taken out of the Tower of London and used in a public ceremony, a coronation, something like that, the crown jeweler literally follows this piece everywhere and makes sure that it's like safe and everything's going on like according to plan.
I mean, it'd be an anxious job, like, because a lot of the crown jewelry is like, has a lot of different elements to it, a lot of valuable stones. They're going through like ceremonies. Like, I'd be worried like people like dropping it or it falling off or something. And then they're always high profile events, so you're like, oh my god, please don't fall off. Like, because I know even it's like a, what you call it, a vocation almost. And the only thing I compare it to is, sometimes when I sell wedding bands to people that I know when I go into the wedding, I've been invited to a few weddings actually of people who we didn't know before, and then we sold the wedding bands. I always think to myself, oh my god, please fit. And I'd be thinking to myself, maybe I could size it here and now if it didn't. Do you know what I mean? But that's probably what the crown jeweler is thinking. Because didn't he, the last crown jeweler, who was from Garrard's, used to follow, as you said, literally follow the jewels around when they were taken out. He'd be responsible for it. He had a phrase that he used to say,
Yes.
was, where they go, so do I. Or
So what does the role of crown jeweler entails? As you mentioned, Matthew, it is a vocation and it includes many different responsibilities. Of course, first of all, the crown jeweler is responsible for producing pieces for the royal family, but, and this is key, they are also responsible for maintaining what already exists in the inventory of the family. They have access to the Tower of London, where they go and reset stones and clean the pieces if it's necessary. And they're also responsible for the security of the pieces every time they need to be removed from their boxes and presented during like a public ceremony, like a coronation, for example. The last crown jeweler from Garrard and Co was David Thomas. Thomas was the crown jeweler from 1991 up until 2007. And if you search online for videos of different like coronations or state openings of parliament, you might locate David Thomas following the crown wherever it goes. He famously carried a pair of pliers and lengths of gold and silver should emergency occurs. So this highlights the fact that he was responsible for taking care of the jewels wherever they were going. And there is a great saying by his predecessor from Garrard as well, William Somers, who famously said of his job, "Where the crown goes, there go I."
So, Fenia, one of my favorite sections of these episodes when we talk about the big houses is the iconic pieces. It just shows what they're about. You know, their goldsmithing, their history, their style. We all love to talk about the jewellery, right? And of course, they were the crown jewelers. And I think they did some really iconic pieces for the crown.
For sure they did, and we have created a list of pieces that we would like to talk about today. They did so much work, it's so difficult to choose. Like, we know that they altered the crown jewels and they reset historic diamonds for Edward VII, Queen Alexandra. We know that they created Queen Mary's crown and the imperial crown of India in 1911. They remade the imperial state crown, and they created the coronation crown of Queen Elizabeth II in 1937.
That's an iconic one.
So,
I mean, it's a lot, but how do we, if we were to only pick one or two each, I mean, I don't even know how we're going to pick, but if you had to pick one to focus on, what one would you pick?
I think we should definitely start from the Koh-i-Noor, the famous pool of light.
Pool of light. Yeah, I remember that. We've talked about this. Has come up before. I remember when the Koh-i-Noor was discovered, the person who discovered it, just when he saw it, he just went Koh-i-Noor, which I think was Persian for fountain or pool of light.
Exactly. We did mention the Koh-i-Noor before, Matthew. You are correct. If you want to learn more about the Koh-i-Noor, actually, you could go and listen to our latest episode on Jean-Baptiste Tavernier and the famous peacock throne of the Mughal emperor. So this particular stone appears in Mughal records from the early 17th century. It was reported by Tavernier. Supposedly it was located on the famous peacock throne of Shah Jahan in his palace in Delhi. When Delhi was sacked in 1739, the diamond changed hands. It passed through Persian and Afghan hands before reaching the hands of Victoria herself. So this famous diamond comes to the shores of England. Prince Albert acquires this stone for Victoria and he presents it at the very famous exhibition of 1851 at the Crystal Palace. Now, you would assume, Matthew, that such a famous stone would create a great impression on the English public, right? Apparently, it did not. When it was presented at this exhibition, the English public was not impressed at all because they weren't used to Mughal cuts. So the European eye up to this point was trained to different types of cuts that focused on brilliance, performing very well in a certain way. Mughal cuts focused on retaining the substance of the stone. They did want to maintain the stone's weight. According to their culture, it was a sacrilege to cut a stone and reduce its weight. Like a perfectly fine, a very beautiful stone, but not to the taste of the English public. So what did Albert do? He contacted Garrard, and this is where they get involved in this whole story of this said diamond.
The Mughal cut is a big, massive diamond, but it didn't perform the way that they were used to. It didn't have the brilliant tearing facets. But the funny thing is, the market today would actually find that really interesting. Like a big, unusual cut diamond would be so appealing because faceting has developed so much that it's more about uniqueness of cut now rather than percentage light return. Because you can cut a diamond perfectly well with lasers and it'll give you such a great light return, but it's not an individual stone at all. So the irony of it is that when it went to the UK to be recut to modern standards, today it would be, in my opinion, more desirable to have left as the original Mughal cut. I mean, that's not to take away from the Koh-i-Noor today. It's still an unbelievable diamond, but I don't think they'd recut it today.
This is where Garrard comes into the story, into the wider picture. Albert needs to make the stone perform well. And he asks from the crown jeweler to help him cut it into a desired shape. And the whole project is huge and very, very expensive. So Garrard, they bring some experts from Amsterdam to make sure that the whole cutting process runs smoothly.
I think the experts came in from Amsterdam and they actually installed like an entire steam engine in the workshop of Garrard to cut this diamond, which I think is just mind blowing. A steam engine to polish just one stone. Like outside of that, they wouldn't have got it. They wouldn't have installed this. But such was the importance of this one particular stone, the risk attached, the provenance, the kudos that they get in the trade for doing it. They got a specialized team to do it. Took 38 days. Cost, was it £8,000? And I think the size difference is important because before they cut it, it was 180 carats.
I think it was 186.
186 carats. And the finished product was 105.6 carats. Now, that sounds like a huge loss, right? You'd be saying, okay, so you lost 80 carats, basically, right?
Heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, but that's what they wanted, right? They wanted this performance thing, a really scintillating diamond, right? But it's not so crazy, right? When you think about, for a modern round brilliant cut diamond, let's say a diamond is 1 carat, you'll end up with like a 0.6 or a 0.7, roughly. And don't quote me exactly on these numbers, but it's roughly 60 to 70% you get. But you get some other cuts, like an Asher cut, you get a way lower percentage, under 50%, I think 40-50%. So you can lose over half of the stone just to get an Asher cut, or a carré cut is another one that can have a huge yield. So the yield can be low. It sounds like they lost a lot, but actually it's kind of within the normal realms of diamond cut. And originally the Mughal diamond, I would say they would have just faceted that broadly in line with the shape of the rough diamond, so they wouldn't have lost a lot originally. And importantly, I mean, there's 80 carats there. There would have been other stones cut from what was taken off. So it's not totally cut. Like if you hear the newspaper articles say, you'll see it every so often, you'll say that, 1,000 carat diamond found in Lesotho or something like that. And in the end, you'll see, they got like a 300 carat pear shape and then all these other stones. And they're usually presented in a box, all of the stones from this rough cut. And there might be 30, 40 stones out of the one cut. So it's not like they lose it. It's not gone. Obviously, there is some dust, which is just diamond dust. You can't do anything with that, really. You probably use for industrial purposes. But you do get other stones. But the biggest stone that was cut out of that was the Koh-i-Noor. And where was this put? Because I think this is important. We don't want to talk too much about the diamond, but the actual piece of jewellery.
Victoria used this diamond on a brooch. She set it on a brooch and later on a circlet. So initially she wore this gorgeous stone on personal jewelry items.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually the diamond was set on a coronation crown, and today it's part of the coronation crown tradition as well. The first queen who used it on her crown was Queen Alexandra, the wife of Edward VII. We know that the diamond was a central piece on her own crown. After Queen Alexandra, we see it on Queen Mary's crown, and of course Queen Elizabeth's crown as well. And the diamonds featured on the crowns of queens. Because of this fact, we have a myth, a legend that says that the stone brings bad luck to anybody who wears it that is not a woman.
Really, yeah. Amazing diamond, and Garrard made it into some really great bits of jewellery. I love that one. There's one though I have to mention next though, Fenia. And it's, like anything with the word Irish in it, I like to plug it, right? I mean, but this one is well warranted to it. So, and that is another tiara created by Garrard, which is the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Now, when you look at this tiara, right, if you was to describe it to someone, to me, this looks like a quintessential royal tiara. And that is really what a lot of Garrard jewellery was all about. The very typical old English classic royal look. And this tiara is like that. It's got all set with diamonds now. It used to have pearls in it. It's all set with diamonds, and it's got like the different spokes as you go around, longer pieces with diamonds in it, and then it kind of goes down in little kind of lower set diamonds, almost undulating like a real crown with the, as if you asked a child to draw a crown, it would like go up and down like this. And this is exactly what I see when I look at this tiara. I think, yeah, that's what a tiara is, you know. Whereas some of the other ones that we've talked about before, and we talked about in the Boleyn episode about the tiara that Queen Alexandra had.
That's a great mention, Matthew. I'm glad you're mentioning this. The Kokoshnik tiara.
The Kokoshnik tiara, which is like a wall of diamonds. Like, it's not like a typical crown per se or tiara, but this one is. It's quintessential. I think it sums up Garrard's really quite well. And the way it was made was, because the name is interesting, right? It's the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. It was Queen Elizabeth, one of her best known tiaras, and it was a wedding gift for Queen Mary, and the girls of Great Britain and Ireland put money together to fund this tiara, which is quite a nice wedding gift, I'd have to say. It is transformable as well, so it is a convertible thing, which again is typical of the jewellery of this time period, because these stones were rare, so you want to get most the use out of them. But I would definitely encourage you to Google this. Anyways, listen, have a look. I just think it's a very pretty classical tiara.
For sure. A very pretty tiara, very characteristic of a Western style tiara as well, as you mentioned. What I find interesting about Garrard, though, is that they did not limit themselves to only Western style tiaras. As you mentioned, we have the beautiful Kokoshnik tiara of Queen Alexandra, which is inspired by a very famous Russian design that is also an iconic Garrard piece. So in our previous episode talking about Boleyn, we talked about the history of the Kokoshnik headpiece, its origins, and how it was implemented later on as a quintessential part of the Russian court. The Tsar asked, demanded from the members of the aristocracy to wear this type of headpiece as a sign of national pride, I would say, a symbol of national pride. Now, Garrard created a crown like this, a tiara like this, for the British Queen Alexandra.
As a commission.
As a commission. And you will wonder, why did they do it? Why did they create a Russian-inspired tiara for the British Queen? The reason lies in the fact that the British Queen was actually related by blood to the Russian Empress. So Queen Alexandra was the sister of Maria Feodorovna, the mother of the last Tsar, Nicholas II. These two ladies, they're actually Danish. They both came from Denmark, and they married into two separate royal houses. Maria Feodorovna...
They're sisters.
Sisters, yes.
Because you showed me pictures of them yesterday, Fenia. And I was like, these literally look like the same person. Like, the one is a bit more like Mediterranean looking, and the other looks more like Northern European, like Danish, but they're so alike. Like, they really are alike. But so the Danish sisters, one married into the Russian royal family, and the other married, I mean, they're their own royals, I think, anyway, and the other one married in England. So she basically, it boiled down to, she saw her sister with this tiara and wanted the same.
Exactly. Alexandra saw Maria Feodorovna wearing a beautiful Kokoshnik crown, a wall of diamonds, as you beautifully described it. And she wanted the same thing, basically. So Garrard created a design for the British Queen herself.
But I wonder, though, the Garrard jewellery that I've seen, that I know, is that typical old English jewellery. This probably was a departure for them from the norm of what they did. And they did a beautiful job. But I think it's such a great one to mention, Fenia. But I think it was a slight deviation for them to their normal style.
I think you're right. Deviation or not, Elizabeth, the second, loved this tiara.
Oh, yeah.
If you search for images of the Queen, of Elizabeth II online, you will see her wearing this tiara constantly. And another reason why I love this tiara so much is because it allows me to make a reference to popular culture as well. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
tag me out. Tag me out.
No, I'm pretty sure you know this one. Have you ever watched an animated film from 1997 called Anastasia?
Yes, I have actually.
Did you enjoy that film?
It was a long time ago, and I remember being really rooting for her, being like, yeah, I hope she's survived. Like, yeah.
It's not a historically accurate film. It basically revolves around the fate of like Anastasia, the daughter of Nicholas II. In this story, she survives the revolution and the Russian Revolution, and she tries to reunite with her family. And
Yeah, because the mystery was they didn't find her body with the other ones. I think the youngest Tsar, what was his name again? The youngest one, he had hemophilia anyway, and that's a lot of the reasons why they got Rasputin involved. He was seen as a holy healer, to quote the Rasputin song, but the queen saw him as being able to help, but the youngest boy, I believe, and then Anastasia, their bodies were taken elsewhere and they were burnt and doused with acid, I believe, and I think ultimately buried in a road, in a kind of a shallow grave. And they were eventually found, but because they weren't found with the rest of the family, there was always this mystery that maybe she escaped. Because if she did, she would have been the heir to the Russian throne, and ultimately they still had a lot of supporters there. And if they had an heir, it could have galvanized their support. But anyway, she didn't survive.
so this film entertains the idea
Yes,
of like Anastasia surviving, what
exactly.
would have happened. And it follows this girl trying to reunite with her family, and specifically with an animated version of Maria Feodorovna. And there is a beautiful scene in the film where Maria Feodorovna, the Dowager Empress, reunites with her granddaughter, and she places a beautiful Kokoshnik tiara on Anastasia's head. And if you go and take a look at this scene, if you go back and watch the film again, you will see that this tiara looks almost identical to the one that the actual Maria Feodorovna used to wear, and very, very similar to the one that was created for Queen Alexandra, the English queen. The animators drew inspiration from both pieces to create this beautiful crown.
Fenia, last but definitely not least, I think we need to talk about the cultural impact and the legacy of Garrard. And we didn't mention it in the iconic pieces because it's really to do with their legacy. Is just one piece that they did make, which has a huge impact in the jewelry world even today, and you'll see it in the shop today. It affects our business and what we buy, so we have to mention this as their impact. They were responsible for making Princess Diana's ring. We've mentioned this before in other episodes, so we won't go into it in too much detail, right? Ultimately, Princess Diana saw the ring in a catalogue, did not pick it from the royal collection, which was foolhardy. Imagine if you were Princess Diana and you had a chance to go into the royal vault and pick out your ring. I'd be like, oh, like, yeah, gimme, like, let me go, right? Just close the doors. I'll tell you when I'm ready, right? But she picked it from a catalogue, like a 12 carat Salon, no heat sapphire, 14 diamonds around it, cluster ring. And the reason why I want to mention this in the legacy of it is that ring became so popular that even today, if we get a very nice royal blue coloured sapphire cluster ring in stock at a reasonable price, obviously, people really like them. It's 45 years ago. It's had a huge impact, and it's still a huge driver of sales. And I know it was recently given to Kate Middleton, which reinvigorated the interest in this style again. But Garrard, that was a Garrard's ring. And of course, that style of ring had a huge following before Garrard's made it for Diana. It was in the catalogue, right? So it obviously had a market. But that just made it, in my opinion, to the next level. And ask any jewellery shop, sapphire cluster rings, nice quality sapphire cluster rings are great sellers because people just really like them. They're so sophisticated and they look great and they're wearable. And if you've got a beautiful blue sapphire, whether it's Ceylon or Burma or basaltic, or cashmere, if you're lucky enough to get one of those, it's just a beautiful ring. And I think when people think of that type of ring, they're thinking of like Diana wearing it. Like there's a lot of photos of her wearing it, or Kate Middleton now. I mean, it's a huge legacy they've left on the jewellery business. And then I think we got to talk about where they are now. And you mentioned earlier they were first set up. Eventually, their bookkeeper took them over, changed the name. Then they were acquired by a private equity firm in the US called UKPA.
Mm-hmm.
What's the situation today?
Today, Garrard and Co, they're like admirable for so many beautiful creations, but I think they're mostly memorable for two things. The first one is being the first crown jeweler for the English crown, and the second one is losing their title of crown jeweler in 2007.
Oh my.
So let's try to unpack that, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay.
To lose it is a big thing. So we talked about how they got it, but why do you think they lost it?
We don't know for sure. So we can only speculate on this topic. What the royal house said was that it was time for a change, basically. That was their official statement, which could mean anything. And it's so typical of them, isn't it?
Time for a change.
Time for a change.
Ultimate diplomacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can only make assumptions. I have my personal theory. So, as you said, Matthew, the company was purchased by a private equity firm in 2006 called UKPA Companies. This entity is famous for basically acquiring supermarket chains. So not very fancy, not very luxurious, and it strikes as a little bit unusual for Garrard as well. So I wonder if the royal household was not happy with the way UKPA planned to lead, to direct Garrard's future production of jewellery.
And they're an American private equity firm.
Exactly, they're also an American firm. The purchase happened in 2006. And Queen Elizabeth said that she's going to stop her collaboration with Garrard in 2007, 1 year after. So the two incidents are very, very close chronologically. And I think it's very difficult to not correlate them in a way.
Possibly, yeah. Also 2007 financial crash.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was, although it says 2008, but it can be bad PR for the crown to be getting a lot of jewellery maybe when the whole country is in economic dire straits.
They did get another crown jeweler after Garrard, though.
Okay. Yeah, but sure, we talked about the crown jeweler is to maintain and be the guardian almost of these jewels. So even in a financial crisis, they still have the jewellery. So they do need a crown jeweler.
So we know that Elizabeth waited until David Thomas retired. So the last crown jeweler from Garrard, David Thomas, as we mentioned before, he was supposed to retire in July, I believe, of 2007. So prior to his official retirement, a couple of months before, Elizabeth said that I'm going to wait until you retire as you plan. And afterwards, like, my house is going to stop its collaboration with Garrard and Co. Another reason why I wonder if it has to do with the creative director that Garrard used to have prior to the purchase by UKPA. So from 2001 to 2006, the last years before it was purchased by the American firm, the creative director of Garrard was Jade Jagger. And if this name sounds familiar, it's because Jade Jagger is the daughter of the legendary, I might say, British rock star Mick Jagger. Jade wanted to make the brand a little bit more rebellious, a little bit more like youth-oriented perhaps. So she famously created designs that were quite provoking. We know that she created like revolvers that were studded with diamonds or like gold chainmail underwear and things like that. I don't know what the reaction of Queen Elizabeth II was to this new phase.
I'm going to figure that she didn't purchase those.
Exactly.
I don't know why. Call me a prude maybe, but I just don't think that she would have got them. But I like where she was going with it though, Jagger. Like, it's cool, it's risky, it's adventurous, innovative, but it's funny. It's like a business kind of thing, isn't it? Like, you've got what you're known for, your classic royal British jeweler, you know, stiff upper lip kind of thing, and classic designs. And I think clean, elegant styles. And then you've got someone who's really changing the direction to move with modern tastes in a way, maybe. There's that people like kind of chunkier jewellery, bolder statement pieces, maybe. And obviously, obviously those pieces, like the gold revolvers and the golden underwear, are like PR things, right? No one's going to make a business off selling golden underwear, right? But
We could try.
you could try, but they'd be expensive now with the price of gold, I'd say. But how to knit that together is very hard, being faithful to your history and what got you there, and then also adapting to the future. It's a real tightrope, I'd say. And as you said, the phraseology that they use was a time for a change, yeah. They don't make statements by accident, right? So I'd look at the actions rather than the words. The action was, you're crown jeweler one day and you're not the next. And there was a reason for it, and we'll never know for sure. But I'm be quite positive that the reasons you've given influenced it to some degree or another. Fenia, back by popular demand, Fenia, we are going to have a round today of Gem Trivial Pursuit. This is a quiz that we do. The theme today is about exhibitions. There's going to be 3 questions, right? This is how it's going to work for some of our listeners who've seen these and listened to these game shows before. Best game show in podcasting. There's 3 questions. I asked you 3, you asked me 3. If you get an answer correct, you get a point. If the answer is debatable, Ross is the final adjudicator. Ross is totally impartial in this. I just want to clarify. Ross is pure impartiality. He is independent and he is seen to be independent, right? And that is how it goes. And if there is a steward inquiries on Ross, we'll go to Diana, right?
Okay.
But Gem Trivial Pursuit, let's get started. Fenia, do you want to go first? Do you want to ask the questions, or would you like to be asked a question?
I want to be asked the
You want to be asked a question? Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Gem Trivial Pursuit. First question.
Okay.
The completed head of what was showcased at the Paris exhibition in 1878?
The completed head.
Of what?
It's probably a statue. Paris exhibition of which year?
1878.
1878. The completed head of what?
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
The completed head of the Statue of Liberty.
Is the correct answer.
Is it?
Yes.
Yes.
Question 2
Okay.
of Gem Trivial Pursuit. The American fairground ride, the Ferris wheel, was created as a rival spectacle to the Eiffel Tower for the Chicago World Fair in 1893. But where is the tallest Ferris wheel in the world today?
What's a Ferris wheel, Matthew?
Ferris wheel is like it's like a playground ride that spins. It's like a big circle and it's got little seats that you sit in and you go up slowly.
Okay.
Like it's a great place for a date. Like people, yeah. London Eye.
So like the London Eye. Okay. Our producer says like the London Eye, so I assume it's not the London Eye then.
No, because that would be not fair and impartial, but Ross is fair and impartial.
Okay.
But where? So where's the location?
Okay, where is it? Okay, I will say it is in Shanghai.
That is incorrect.
Where is it?
The answer is Dubai.
Dubai. I should have
Dubai.
said Dubai.
And it was opened in 2021 and it is 250 meters tall, which is, wow, very high in fairness. So 1 out of 2.
Mm-hmm.
1 out of 2. Question 3. Roughly how many people visited the Great Exhibition in London in 1851? And I give you there's 3 questions. You have to pick what you think is the right one.
Mm-hmm.
2 million, 4 million, or 6 million? 1851, how many people visited the Great Exhibition in London?
6 million.
That's correct.
Is it?
Yeah.
Surprise. Oh my God. Okay, so you're in trouble, Matthew.
It was going to be the highest, wasn't it? Like, anyway. 2 out of 3. Fenia, good one. The Statue of Liberty was a good answer. That was a good answer.
I was actually thinking of Dubai as well, I have to say.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, who has enough money to create the largest wheel?
Shanghai makes sense.
Makes sense,
Makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Okay, so shall I
Okay.
read your questions then?
Yeah. Just make sure you hide the answer from me. I don't want any controversy.
Okay, let's see. Question 1. The Crystal Palace Football Club was founded at the site of the Great Exhibition in southeast London
Yeah.
in 1861.
Got it.
But what trophy did they win for the first time ever in 2025?
Crystal Palace. Well, they've never won the Premier League. They've never won anything in Europe, I don't think. So it must be the other one, like the Coca-Cola Cup or Worthing Cup or whatever. That changed all the time, so that'd be too difficult. So did they win the FA Cup?
Correct. They did win the
Yes.
FA Cup.
Yes.
I have competition, serious
Yes.
competition. Let's see. Question 2.
Okay.
At the 1889 Paris Exposition, Thomas Edison showed off 2 inventions.
Yeah.
One for light
Uh.
and one for sound.
Okay.
Name either of them.
Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. And the sound. God, did he do? He did do the telephone, did he? No, not the what's the other one called? Telegram. No,
Not telegram.
not telegram. Okay, but it's light. It is light bulb.
Yes. Do you know
Yeah.
the official?
Do I have to get both of them, or is one okay?
You can get one of them,
Okay.
either of them.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give you this one. So
Thank you.
he creates the incandescent
Yes.
lamp. Is that
So I'm
correct?
getting it because I got the
You're
right
getting
answer.
it.
Like,
You're getting, and you're getting, and actually you semi got the other one. You got the second part of the word. So it's not the telegram, or the telegraph. It's the phonograph, or we call it also the gramophone as well.
gramophone. Oh, is that? Oh, that's a music player, is it? Like a?
The gramophone is a music player, yeah.
Is that the one that has like a big? It's got like a. It looks like a kind of a partially opened umbrella almost.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Interesting.
good
Okay,
description.
great.
Okay,
It's 2 out of
question
2.
3,
Just
and
want to take the lead.
I do hope you get this wrong. Otherwise,
Thanks,
gonna-
Fenia. It's good to be supported.
Question 3.
Okay.
How many visitors did the 1893 Chicago World's Fair record?
Okay.
How many visitors did the 1893 Chicago World's Fair record?
I have no idea.
I have 3
Yeah.
options for you.
Okay.
We have option A,
Yeah.
24.5 million. Jeez.
Oh, right. Right. Okay. This is.
Option B, 27.5 million. And option C, 30.5 million.
You smiled when you said the last one. But I'm going to guess that Ross didn't have the answers as the biggest number for each of them. But then he'd know I might think that, so he actually might make it the biggest number for each of them. So, I mean, it's impossible. I have no idea. Like, it could be 24 million, basically 27 or 30, more or less.
Mhm.
So, I'm basing this off Ross's psychology, and I'm going to say 30.3 million.
It's actually option B.
He did change it. He
27.5.
did change it. Right. Yeah, it would have been a total guess anyway. So, tiebreaker question. I just want to say, yeah, Fanny, great answer with the Statue of Liberty. I was thinking about that. That was you probably guessed the time frame of it, I'd say. Did you? Yeah,
Yes.
very good. Yeah. Okay, Ross. So, in the event that there was a tie, we were prepared for this. And we've got a tiebreaker. So, what is the tiebreaker, Mr. Quizmaster?
How many panes of glass were used in the construction of the Crystal Palace? Closest to the right answer wins.
Okay.
So how many panes of glass? Panes is like kilos or something. What is
No, like a piece. Like one, that's a pane of glass is one piece of glass, but it can be any size. So it's nothing to do with weight, it's just quantity. One pane of glass.
Okay.
One piece of glass. Oh God. Okay, you need to write down our answers.
There as well.
Have you got an answer?
I do.
Okay. Give me yours, I'll give you mine. Right, well, they're definitely... Okay, so Fenia has wrote down 75,000 panes of glass. I have wrote down?
You wrote down, you're very precise, you wrote down 10,024 panes of glass.
Okay. Ross, would you like to reveal the answer? Diana has wrote it down there, yeah? Well, Diana, what have you wrote down? How many? 50.
50,000.
15,000. 15,000.
15,000.
Okay, I don't know, Fanny, you might have a shout there. We could have...
75,000.
The answer is...
293,000 panes of glass. And since the instructions were closest to the right answer wins, this makes me the winner.
You won.
This round.
Well done, Fenia. You got it. And you got it closest by a mile. Yeah, we grossly underestimated it. Because, I think I was thinking like big panes of glass, but there was probably thousands of little ones all around the place, actually. So I think that's the misestimation. But yeah, Fenia, it's 1-0. You've won the first round of Gem Trivial Pursuit. And we are going to wrap it up there today. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you're following Gem Pursuit on your podcast app and subscribe to us on YouTube. We have a dedicated Instagram channel at Gem Pursuit Pod, which I'd highly recommend giving a follow as well. Of course, we always love to hear from anyone who enjoys Gem Pursuit, and we have a dedicated email for that, info@gempursuit.com. And don't hesitate to send us in that email. Thanks to Veronique Gauguin for research on today's episode, Colin Weldon for videography, Diana Dadagayova for assisting with today's episode, and Ross Hannon of Tape Deck for producing the episode. And of course, thank you to Fenia Sigkoudi for today's episode. Some really great points made on a great British jeweler. Thank you, Fenia.
Thank you for having me, Matthew. That was a delight.
From me, Matthew, thanks for joining us. And until the next time, goodbye and happy hunting.